I'm not a big fan of drama. It is a rarity for me to actually engage with other people that I'm critiquing. Typically, I just look back at the stories, I talk about what's going on, kind of mind my own business. But today, something different. You see, Oliver Darcy of CNN tweeted about what Fox News was covering. And I've repeatedly ragged on CNN, Oliver Darcy, Brian Stelter specifically, because they're basically becoming the Fox News review channel. They don't debunk or fact check. They literally just give us a TV guide for Fox News. It's the weirdest thing. Well, mostly Oliver Darcy. He's a media reporter over at CNN. Well, I engaged with him on Twitter and we exchanged some words. He tried to defend himself, and I'm going to show you this drama because I think it's kind of funny. And he ultimately just kind of disappeared as soon as I brought up Chris Cuomo faking his quarantine. But there is a bigger story here. Glenn Greenwald from The Intercept writes, Ben Smith's NYT critique of Ronan Farrow describes a toxic, corrosive, and still vibrant Trump-era pathology. Resistance journalism. And that's what we're swimming in right now. Resistance journalism. Even though Russiagate ended, the conspiracy-minded fake news trash still exists. And I have to wonder, there are some journalists I know, I'll do air quotes, journalists, who have gained hundreds of thousands of followers peddling fake news about Russiagate over the past several years. How do they still have followers? How are they still being booked on these cable channels? They were wrong about everything. Not only were they wrong about their reporting, and Russiagate itself, we later learned that with the release of these transcripts, many of these people appearing on these cable networks, the non-journalists like the Obama administration types, were just making it up. They had no evidence at all. Yet the media uncritically just word vomits all day, every day. Glenn Greenwald is a bit of a progressive guy. I disagree with him on many things, but I love his takedowns of the conspiracy media and the fake news. While The Intercept is far from perfect, and I've called them out for their poorly framed articles, everybody can be criticized. I think The Intercept does a pretty good job, especially when they're calling out the establishment press and how they lie. Ben Smith, formerly of BuzzFeed News, I've been singing his praises for quite some time. He's now at the New York Times, and he is sparing no words, holding no punches. I mean, maybe he's holding some punches, but man, is he really going after the establishment. He actually wrote a critique, a takedown of Ronan Farrow, who's like a media darling, a liberal darling. Gotta say, I'm impressed. In it, he brings up something called resistance journalism. Here's a quote. He said, Farrow's work, though, reveals the weakness of a kind of resistance journalism that has thrived in the age of Donald Trump. That if reporters swim ably along with the tides of social media and produce damaging reporting about public figures most disliked by the loudest voices, the old rules of fairness and open-mindedness can seem more like impediments than essential journalistic imperatives. That can be a dangerous approach, particularly in a moment when the idea of truth and a shared set of facts is under assault. Think about that. The goal is target high-profile individuals that enough people hate to generate support to make money. It works. That's what they're doing. I bring you now to Mr. Oliver Darcy, who is getting a direct dose of criticism from me and a bit of drama. Again, I'm not a big drama person, so it is the rarity when you see me actually do a thread about my back and forth with someone. But I want to get into this. I think it's important to criticize what CNN is doing, this resistance journalism, this fake news, how they manipulate people and how they devolve into something unrecognizable, just a heap of garbage. Take a look at this tweet. Oliver Darcy said, here's a graph showing how Fox News spent a lot more time last week discussing topics related to the Obamagate conspiracy than it did talking about the coronavirus, which has killed tens of thousands of Americans. CNN actually produced this graph. I am very impressed by this. You actually spent time to track the words they were saying. Wow. What you can't really see, it's kind of small, is that for those that are listening, you got a blue line, you got a red line. The red line says Obamagate, and we can see that around May 11th it spikes, and you can see coronavirus dips down quite a bit, but you can see it's scaled, right? So the peak is actually 30. The top of the chart is 30%. The bottom is 10%. What Oliver Darcy is doing right here is not a critique of Fox News necessarily. If you are a resistance individual, it probably is a critique because now you're going, I can't believe they're talking about Obamagate instead of coronavirus, which is really dumb because it was a span over a few days when big breaking news came out. I mean, listen, Michael Flynn had his charges dropped. This was huge news. And yes, Donald Trump then tweeted about Obamagate. Perhaps Fox News wanted to cover that. If Oliver Darcy wanted to post a long-form critique of Obamagate, argue against it, or actually create an argument about why coronavirus was more relevant, I'd be willing to listen to it. He's not doing that. Instead, what we're getting is TV Guide. Yes, if you follow Oliver Darcy on Twitter, you will get TV Guide Fox News edition. You want to know what Fox News is talking about? Just follow Oliver Darcy. He won't critique the channel. He won't fact check the channel. He won't debunk it. He'll just tell you what Laura Ingraham said, or what Sean Hannity said, or the amount of words that were used. So here's where it gets funny. Drama time. So I tweeted, Oliver Darcy, host of Fox News Review. It's like an angry director's commentary on one news channel. He's not even debunking or fact checking. It's literally a career dedicated to, quote, this is what Fox did today. Oliver's response. Sort of an important story for a media reporter when the president is obsessed with the cable channel and gets his info and makes decisions based on what it airs. But apparently that's too complicating of a concept for you to understand! Exclamation point. Too complicated. I follow and critique the news all day, every day. I'm doing it literally right now. A media reporter you'd think would actually report on the media. Ben Smith is a media reporter or media columnist for the New York Times, and he's done a really great job across the board. There's not just one story to cover. Ben Smith's critique nails what Oliver Darcy is doing. It is perfect. You see, there's a large group of resistance people who hate Fox News. Yeah, Trump too, fine. Oliver Darcy has found a high-profile takedown target. It doesn't matter if he's critiquing. It doesn't matter if he's actually talking about them. All he has to do is say, look what Fox did. Boom, clicks. Now, to be fair, I'll accept equal criticism because I rag on CNN very often. The difference, I would say, in my own defense, is that I'm actually critiquing and trying to debunk what CNN is doing and explain why they're fake news, where what Oliver is doing is literally like, did you see they talked about Obamagate yesterday? So what? I don't care if CNN talks about Trump all the time. I care if they're lying and putting out fake news, and that's what I'll critique. They can absolutely talk about Fox News all day and night if they debunk it. It's a fair point. Yeah, Trump watches Fox News a lot. Fox News is the highest rated cable channel. I personally don't think it's necessarily that fair because even though they're the highest rated cable news channel, they're not there's still a ton of other channels that have a more leftist perspective. So Fox News still isn't all that powerful, right? But it's fine if you want to critique or fact check. I'll go after CNN and MSNBC for their fake news. I only ask that if Oliver Darcy and CNN actually want to review Fox News, will they actually present some facts and debunk and challenge what's being said? No, this is something else. My response was, you guys did nothing but Russia for years. Don't act all high and mighty. You're the Fox News review guy. I then said Fox is one channel. The president watches it, but still, he's been ragging on Fox for the past year. In fact, he just tweeted smack-talking Fox last night. Yes, last night Trump said, Fox News, what's happened? Oh, harumph. Oliver's response, dude, the president of the United States literally spends his days live tweeting what he sees on Fox. Maybe focus on his obsession with the network, not my reporting on it. But you're not reporting on it. You're just telling me what Fox is talking about. If you wanted to talk about the president and question the president's sources and things like that, debunk what he's saying. But simply telling me what Fox is covering is not reporting. It's what Ben Smith said. High profile target, loud enough angry voices. You found your audience. Congratulations. My response to that, I said, right. And you're not fact checking or debunking. You're just tweeting about what people on Fox say. It's not even about Trump half the time. It's just Fox. Care to comment on Cuomo and your network faking his quarantine? And poof, like magic. A beautiful magic act where the assistant to Brian Stelter, Oliver Darcy, was put in a little box, and now he's gone. Simply bring up that CNN produces fake news, and he won't comment on it because he's not really interested in what the president is doing. I don't even know why he bothered to try and justify what he's doing. It is apparent you're the TV guide for Fox News because you can see all the replies. People are saying, aha, Fox isn't news. You've proven it. Oh, he didn't even say anything about Obamagate. Care to actually explain what Obamagate is to anybody? I didn't think so. You're just calling it a conspiracy. And here we go. Here's what I said to him. Can't lose those CNN shillbucks, right, Oliver? Might get fired if you actually talk about how your network staged Chris Cuomo being under quarantine. But please, continue to explain to me why being the TV guide for Fox News is so important. You know what, man? I hate drama. I really hate drama. You want to criticize me? People do it all day, every day. I am totally fine with it. I don't think I'm perfect, right? I try to do my best. I don't believe that's true for what CNN is doing. Chris Cuomo apparently went on his show last night and started blaming Trump over the Pensacola. I don't want to get too much into that stuff. But it's just CNN is devolving into a knockoff MSNBC. And it's substantially worse. Look, the guy running it now, Zucker, he's a reality TV guy. We knew where they were going the whole time. They don't bring on any conflicting voices. They don't bring on anyone to challenge anything. It's just reality TV garbage. Like Ben Smith said. Let me read a little bit. I want to now read the story about resistance journalism. We get to combine the establishment and media critiques of Glenn Greenwald and Ben Smith. It is truly an excellent read, mind you. After talking about the dangerous approach, particularly in the moment when the idea of truth and a shared set of facts is under assault, Glenn Greenwald continues. In assailing Farrow for peddling unproven conspiracy theories, Smith argues that such journalistic practices are particularly dangerous in an era where conspiracy theories are increasingly commonplace. Yet unlike most journalists with a mainstream platform, Smith emphasizes that conspiracy theories are commonly used not only by Trump and his movement, but are also commonly deployed by Trump's enemies, whose reliance on conspiracy theories is virtually never denounced by journalists because mainstream news outlets themselves play a key role in peddling them. And there we go. Donald Trump, one man. If Donald Trump has a bad idea, I really don't care all that much. I mean, he's the president, so his bad ideas are substantially more important than the average person's bad ideas. And you guys, if you've listened to my content consistently, you've heard me critique the president on a wide range of things, but usually just the foreign policy stuff, right? Let's be honest. Selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, missile strikes. You've heard me, Yemen commando raids, drone strikes. These are the things that I'm just like, every president does. I'm not going to lend my support to it. It needs to be criticized. But when it comes to what the mainstream press does, they're putting out fake news deliberately. This is why I think there's a big difference between what I do and what, say, CNN is doing. CNN has an editorial department. They have a higher up. They have instructions. They're telling people to do things to encourage things. I'm one dude with an opinion. If you're one person, if you're Trump, and you say, I saw this story in the news about Obamagate, man, that's crazy. Okay, you read something. I can respect that. If you're a news organization and you have a big meeting where everyone comes together and they say, let's claim Trump colluded with Russia. Let's just do it. You've now got people working all together in an establishment to push a narrative that many would know to be false. If I have an opinion as an individual, I'm welcome to say it. And the same is true to varying degrees with Oliver Darcy, except he works for a company as a media reporter where his job is to report on the press, and all he does is rag on Fox News and give us a window into what's basically Fox News TV guide. Not that I really needed it, but I appreciate it fine. I'm kidding, by the way. Let's read this quote from Ben Smith's article. He says, "We are living in an era of conspiracies and dangerous untruths. Many pushed by President Trump, but others hyped by his enemies, that have lured ordinary Americans into passionately believing wild and unfounded theories and fiercely rejecting evidence to the contrary. The best reporting tries to capture the most attainable version of the truth, with clarity and humility about what we don't know. Instead, Mr. Farrow told us what we wanted to believe about the way power works, and now it seems he and his publicity team are not even pretending to know if it's true." This is really incredible. Ben Smith of the New York Times actually fact-checked a lot of what Ronan Farrow had claimed and found, at least according to his assessment, not true. But I'm really impressed by the intelligence of Ronan Farrow and his team. They saw what was going on with Russiagate, dissected the media system, and applied it in another direction. It was brilliant, brilliant. I as an individual, love taking apart machines. I like looking at them, figuring out how they work, because you can reapply the principles that make the machine turn in a different direction. When it came to resistance journalism and the anti-Trump narrative, you can see all that mattered is what, this is coming from Ben Smith. People hate Trump. Therefore, anything goes. All you have to do is present something as crazy as possible that might make Trump seem bad, and people will applaud you for it. They will love it. They will buy it. They will eat it up. Based on that, based on the assumptions people have about people like Trump, can we do this again? The answer, yes. And he did. Bravo, good sir. Now, let's be real. I think what he uncovered about Weinstein and Lauer and these other people, It's actually, for the most part, on point. These people were disgusting. Now, the challenge is knowing what he did and knowing this resistance journalism tactics. I wonder how much of it was actually misframed and misrepresented. I can't trust his reporting if that's the case. I mean, look, Ben Smith straight up says, he straight up debunks a few of the major claims made about these individuals by Farrow, and that calls into question everything about it. Let's read a little bit more about what Glenn Greenwald says. Ever since Donald Trump was elected, and one could argue even in the months leading up to his election, journalistic standards have been consciously jettisoned when it comes to reporting on public figures who, in Smith's words, are most disliked by the loudest voices, particularly when such reporting swims ably along with the tides of social media. Put another way, as long as the targets of one's conspiracy theories and attacks are regarded as villains by the guardians of mainstream liberal social media circles, journalists reap endless career rewards for publishing unvetted and unproven, even false attacks on such people, while never suffering any negative consequences when their stories are exposed as shabby frauds. I think this actually explains very well why there's so few hit pieces against me, but ridiculous takedowns of other personalities. I mean, for one, I'm not an overt supporter of any political party or individual, although I've made donations a lot to Democrats. I know it's kind of funny, right? Trying to, in my opinion, in my defense, trying to donate to people I think could actually save the party. Because as the saying goes, an eagle needs two strong wings to fly. And right now the left wing is shattered into a million pieces. And there are some people I think could actually bring something sane to the party. That's maybe my naivety, because I'm out of that as far as I'm concerned. But I typically don't go to war with people on Twitter. Drama is rare for me. And for the most part, I actually respectfully engage with people on various platforms. I am not someone most people care about. I'm a milquetoast fence sitter, and thus I'm not an easy target for them because nobody cares who I am, to be honest. I mean, maybe you guys watching my videos. A lot of people hanging out, following me on Twitter. But the group of people who dislike me and are, it's relatively small. So it doesn't fit the framework. You can look at other higher profile personalities like Mike Cernovich. Because he was a high profile, I say was, but he's a very active Trump supporter. I don't want to assert where I know where he is now and what, he goes by. But Mike Cernovich was very high profile, and they went after him with hit piece after hit piece after hit piece. They do something similar with Joe Rogan. Why? High profile, enough people hate you, then they can make money off that hate. That's how the game works. Fortunately for me, not enough people hate me, I guess. So it doesn't really work out that well for the resistance journalism. Glenn says, it is this resistance journalism sickness that has caused U.S. politics to be drowned for 3 years in little other than salacious and fact-free conspiracy theories about Trump and his family members and closest associates. Putin has infiltrated and taken over the U.S. government through blackmail leveraged over Trump and used it to dictate U.S. policy. Trump officials conspired with the Kremlin to interfere in the 2016 election. Russia was attacking the U.S. by hacking its electricity grid. I love it. These are real stories. Recruiting journalists to serve as clandestine Kremlin messengers and plotting to cut off heat to Americans in winter. Mainstream media debacles, all in service of promoting the same set of conspiracy theories against Trump, are literally too numerous to count, requiring one to select the worst offenses as illustrative. In March of last year, Rolling Stone's Matt Taibbi, writing under the headline, quote, "It's official. Russiagate is this generation's WMD. Compared the prevailing media climate since 2016 to that which prevailed in 2002 and 2003 regarding the invasion of Iraq and the so-called war on terror. Little to no dissent permitted. Skeptics of media-endorsed orthodoxies shunned and excluded. And worst of all, the very journalists who were most wrong in peddling false conspiracy theories were exactly those who ended up the most rewarded on the ground, that even though they spread falsehoods, they did so for the right cause." And there it is. It's what I've been saying for quite some time. When you write fake news, you make money, you gain followers. And when you correct, no one cares. The people who hate Trump will not stop following you. For years, the resistance, journalist people published fake news about Trump, gaining hundreds of thousands of followers. And today, those people still follow them. They don't care if it was wrong. It feels good. Orange man bad. That's all that matters. The reality is it extends beyond the orange man. As Ronan Farrow found, you can extend that principle to basically anybody. Find someone sufficiently famous enough, and you can even make the hate yourself because you can prey upon people's assumptions. Glenn says, under that warped rubric in which spreading falsehoods is commendable, as long as it was done to harm the evildoers, the New Yorker's Jeffrey Goldberg, one of the most damaging endorsers of false conspiracy theories about Iraq, rose to become editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, while two of the most deceitful Bush-era neocons, Bush Cheney speechwriter, David Frum, and supreme propagandist Bill Kristol have reprised their role as leading propagandists and conspiracy theorists, only this time aimed against the GOP president instead of on his behalf, and thus have become beloved liberal media icons. The communications director for both the Bush-Cheney campaign and its White House, Nicole Wallace, is one of the most popular liberal cable hosts from her MSNBC perch. I love it. George W. Bush. Do you remember this poll came out? W. Bush was polling more favorably among Democrats than Donald Trump was. How insane have people become? It's amazing. And they tell me that I changed. Tim sure has become different. They say, man, you've changed. No, I really didn't. I mean, a little bit. Come on, let's be real. I grew up. I think back to my teenage years and my early 20s, and there's a lot of things I didn't know for sure. So I definitely had my opinions change as I got older. For the most part, my opinions on policy and the structure of government, civil services and things, they mostly remain the same. And I've maintained those. My opinions are relatively founded. Static. You look, if you're presented with new information, your opinions change. That's fair. But what happened is these resistance people operate off an emotional basis of hating Donald Trump. That's what it's all about. That's the market opportunity. So I'll throw it back to Mr. Darcy, Oliver Darcy, and Brian Stelter. I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing is the opposite of prestigious. Do you think anyone in their right mind will write about the great journalism of famed media reporters Brian Stelter and Oliver Darcy, or will they be relegated to footnotes of history as Fox News review channels? This is why I hate drama. This is why I can't stand it when people are like, Tim, did you hear someone made a video about you? I don't care. I barely care about Oliver Darcy. The only reason I'm engaging in this drama with him is because it's me talking about what's going on with the press as a whole. And it's an individual target of of somebody who is doing it more so than most other people. They've built careers off this. You've got the Donald Trump reply guys. It's what they do. Donald Trump tweets. What do? They respond to Trump saying, you're dumb. And they get a ton of followers. Congratulations. I hope you can find a way to monetize that in the future. And I hope that deep down, do you really think in the future they're going to say, Donald Trump reply guy number 73, historical figure and icon? The answer is no. Probably not. Because you are dedicating your time to bickering about nonsense. This is why I hate drama. I don't care if someone makes a video about me. I'm not going to respond to it. Now, many of you and the haters will say, Tim thinks they're going to write about him. All he does is reply to people and comment on news. I never said I was looking for some great prestige. And in that regard, maybe they aren't either. Maybe it's a quick path to a paycheck. But I will tell you what, I have tried to make sure that there is balance in the work that I do, working on starting a news company, fact-checking organizations, other shows. What the critics like to do is highlight my main channel, which is very political. And my opinions are very much pointed at Democrats and the media establishment because I have my opinions and my bias. That's fair. They often make sure they go out of their way to ignore Scanner, formerly Subverse. They make sure to ignore this channel and Timcast IRL, where we talk about aliens and movies. I do almost 4 hours of content every day, of which about 40 minutes has to do with politics. I don't think I'm perfect. I think I'm worthy of criticism in many similar ways. However, what we are getting right now in our political landscape are people just blindly following overt grifters who do nothing but Fox News bad, Orange Man bad, propping up people who are nasty people. I'm going to read you this one last thing. Here we go. Exactly the same journalism destroying dynamic is driving the post-Russiagate media landscape. There is literally no accountability for the journalists and news outlets that spread falsehoods in their pages, on their airwaves, and through their viral social media postings. The Washington Post's media columnist, Eric Wemple, has been one of the very few journalists devoted to holding these myth peddlers accountable, recounting how one of the most reckless Russiagate conspiracy maximalists, Natasha Bertrand, became an overnight social media and journalism star by peddling discredited conspiratorial trash. She was notably hired by Jeffrey Goldberg to cover Russiagate for The Atlantic. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow spent 3 years hyping conspiratorial junk with no need to even retract any of it. And Mother Jones' David Corn played a crucial, decisively unjournalistic role in mainstreaming the lies of the Steele dossier, all with zero effect on his journalistic status, other than to enrich him through a predictably best-selling book that peddled those unhinged conspiracies further. I got to keep this short. It's already going on long, but I'll shout this out. Ben Smith, the former editor-in-chief of BuzzFeed News, published the Steele dossier. In my opinion, making things worse. I mean, it was unverified. I understand his argument for it. The people had a right to see what journalists and politicians were talking about. You can criticize him, but I'll tell you what. Pencils have erasers. For all the bad that BuzzFeed News had done, Ben Smith is now absolutely slaying it at the New York Times. And it's epic. It's excellent work. I'll leave it there. We'll see how the future plays out. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.